just backing up the data.
Yeah.
That's an interesting paper. It sounds like you're going to give people options.
Should or should?
Should not. But even like when Heather lets us pick the menu, for example, people are gonna, like me, are gonna pick meat.
Right.
But if you don't even tell me, I'm just gonna eat this
right, yeah.
and enjoy it.
Exactly.
It's very hungry. So, yeah, that was just what I took from it.
The benefits that Humber will do.
Should we give Alex another minute to join? Or should we, do you all want to? Oh, there she is.
The person, I don't know.
Annie. Oh,
Was it just
Annie?
Any?
I think she came.
She's not here. Thank you.
Hi, Alex.
Who is your ones?
Oh,
Hello.
Yeah, me.
Hello, good morning. Morning.
Far away.
No, it's just that this is. My day schedule is weird. I do. I'm usually starting work sometime between like 3 and 2 and 4 in the afternoon. Yeah. Okay. Hello, welcome. We have a quorum in person as well as Alex joining us virtually. Welcome. I would like to call this meeting to order to begin. And then, Heather, would you like to read our meeting procedures?
Sorry, the screen is too big. I'm going to switch over to this one and for just a moment if you guys don't mind. Hello everyone, I'm Heather Sandine. I'll be serving as your technical host for tonight's meeting. Just a few things to go over before we start. The city has engaged with community members to co-create a vision for productive, meaningful, and inclusive civic conversations. This vision supports physical and emotional safety for community members, staff, and board and commission members, as well as democracy for people of all ages, identities, lived experiences, and political perspectives. For more information about this vision and the community engagement process, please visit that website, https://bouldercolorado.gov/services/productive-atmospheres. The following are examples of rules of decorum found in the Boulder Revised Code and other guidelines that support this vision. These will be upheld during this meeting. All remarks and testimony shall be limited to matters related to city business. No participant shall make threats or use other forms of intimidation against any person. Obscenity, racial epithets, and other speech and behavior that disrupts or otherwise impedes the ability to conduct the meeting are prohibited. Participants are required to sign up to speak using the name they are commonly known by, and individuals must display their whole name before being allowed to speak online. Currently, only audio testimony is permitted online. Because we do not have registration for open and public comment tonight, you can indicate you would like to participate by using the raise hand function. The raise hand button is in the participant box, which can be found in the menu by hovering over the top or the bottom of your screen and then clicking on the participant icon. When the box opens, you will see the raise hand button at the bottom. By clicking that button, you can indicate you would like to participate in open or public comment. If you have joined us by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand.
Thank you, Heather. That we shall go to, I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting. Got a second? If I could just get a quick vote to approve, all in favor, raise your hand. Yeah, cool, great. And now we have one person joining. If you would like to participate in a public comment, feel free to raise your hand. All right. In that case, I think we can move on to our agenda item, seeing no hand. And we can start off with our continued discussion around this plant-based food challenge to the boards and cities. So Yeah,
Take
do you
that,
wanna go ahead and give that a start?
So everyone should have in their email the docs. I think we're ready to move forward with it unless, yeah, to review what it is, there is the script. We're going to public comment at council. There is an email letter to all the boards that includes links to an FAQ or fact sheet. You can choose one or the other. And there's a slide deck that maybe we'll link to in the follow-up email to council. Otherwise, I don't know if we need it. And then there's that follow-up email to council. And I also have a list going of all the boards to send it to, and I can just grab their emails online. I'm happy to send it and then CC the board email so that everyone gets replies. If that works with the
Great.
the rules of the game here. And then I can track responses in the spreadsheet and answer any questions before. So, yeah, open to any extra comments from anyone who hasn't read it or.
Yeah, no, I've glanced through briefly, during Thanksgiving, it seems like mostly in the right track. When I talked with Jonathan about our agenda for this meeting, which was just more about like the sort of like the tone that we're trying to go for with this challenge. Is it like certainly with the public comment, and definitely also with the emails, is it like a friendly challenge or like a campaign or like
Yeah.
what's the tone that we're going for, making sure that we're reflecting that in
That's a great question.
outgoing.
My worry with the word challenge is that people would think it's like a one-off, like this is a challenge, it starts and then it's over. So I was trying to avoid that vibe of like, this is a thing you do for 6 months and then forget about it. Versus like, yeah, this is a thing we want to adopt as an ongoing. Again, the word is not policy, but I don't know if it's an ongoing thing. Resolution or part of our city values. So that's what I was thinking. And then, I don't know, I guess my assumption is people will also have like, if it's too light, I think people have questions, like people, I don't think anyone spent any time thinking about this before, so I might have gone a little fact heavy because that also is. So I guess I was taking a more of a serious tone, but not like, what I don't want it is, and if it comes off at all, us, definitely we should change it. I don't want it to feel like the city's bad and you have to be better. It's more like, here's an opportunity that we see. We think this is cool. We can be even more like, we're already the most progressive city regarding policy. Let's add a little something else. So that's what I was thinking, but totally not attached to anything here.
Sounds good. And Jen,
Yeah, thank you. Evening board, for the record, Jonathan Cohen with Climate Initiatives. I thought it might be helpful, since we do have a member of the public joining tonight. And for the record, it might be helpful just to maybe state a bit of what this item is and just talk a bit about what the board is considering. As a little bit of a background, that way it's in the public record and the member of the public that's here this evening listening has an understanding of what you're discussing.
absolutely.
To quickly add to that, I do have all of those materials pulled up and ready to share full on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, so for quick summary, we our wonderful board member Hannah has a few months ago brought to our attention something that the city of Denver did around only providing plant-based meals for city-sponsored events, or I think it's specifically for board meetings, which is something that we as the Environmental Advisory Board have been doing sort of informally for several months. I don't exactly know how long, but
Well, and it's not just plant-based, it's plant-based by default, and
yes,
anyone can add anything they want. So it's
Yes.
inclusive of whatever people want. It's just shifting the people.
Yes. So rather than defaulting to providing meat-based meals. And so we've been discussing over the past few meetings how best to go about doing something similar here in the city of Boulder. And so challenging, or however we're going to end
Inviting.
up phrasing it, inviting, that is a great friendly word. Other boards to do the same thing, sending the same invitation to city council and hopefully extending that across all city sponsored events is our sort of goal here. And I think, unless I'm missing something, you're the expert here.
That's great.
And the reason being for, it's a big way to reduce impacts on climate, so.
Yeah.
Reduction of greenhouse gases and water usage, we're working on data there, but I guess, as well as other co-benefits.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, so that's sort of the overall executive summary. And so, yeah, do we want to pull up any of the specific things to like look at them as a group?
I guess
or-
my question is just the tone question, is there feedback on the tone that we can improve before we?
I have a comment on it. It's maybe a bit tone, but also a way to kind of bridge the gap between the importance of this, but not, like you said, insulting the city or anything like that, but also providing a driving mechanism for why people should care. I think one of the things that you touch on in your statements is about how our data as a city show that food-based systems contribute in second place to our greenhouse gas emissions behind transportation. And I don't know that that's something people would necessarily be aware of. And I think that that could be kind of a touchstone point, that people feel like this is an opportunity as an individual to start to make a difference in our city, and something that's maybe not easy, but a little bit low stakes entry point into that arena. And so I think that might be, not that we have to build the whole thing on that data piece, but it could be a nice bridging point that kind of sets that tone that
Yeah.
is both serious while not, so in your face that it's overwhelming and people don't even want to consider doing it.
Yeah,
So I guess I'm not going to be part of the discussion, but like, where are we at now in terms of ordering food? Like, I think with Heather, we tried different things over the last year. Like, we did DoorDash, we did like I think a PDF form, we did like different things. So, what is there a standard way the board and the council order food? Like Heather, I think you picked a place today. I'm guessing. So is that how other boards do it? Because depending on the system, I think we can make recommendations based on the studies.
It's up to each individual board secretary to do the ordering. The city does have a list of catering options. It's not a preferred list or anything like that. It's just, a list of contacts for ideas that people can reference. But really, any of the board secretaries can choose whichever places they prefer.
How do you pick Flower Child, for example?
I wanted something different. I love their food.
And we discussed briefly at our last meeting about some way to provide some, like, this list of places has been working well for us. And, because as Jonathan mentioned, it is very touchy as a board to be like, these are good businesses to order from in an official capacity, right? Like, but like, these are the tools that we have been using that have worked well for us. That kind of thing, and trying to remove as much of the like work from other boards as possible, because that's one of the easiest ways to get someone to not do something is to be like, hey, we think this is great, have fun, right? And so trying to make it an easy a path as possible to follow. So. Yeah.
and Alex, real quick, back to your point, I saw you had put a comment to move that up in the public comment, and I accepted that, so I did move that sentence up a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that. I think to me that stuck out as a point that could be
Yeah, yeah, and if you have
touched
any
on
other,
earlier.
okay, we could even move it higher too if you want. That's a good idea.
Yeah, and so I guess. I mean,
I just took out the line, there was a line in there that said, and yet we're not doing anything about it, I deleted that for the tone
yeah,
line.
I think we've been discussing this for several months at this point.
Yeah.
Do we feel comfortable sort of starting to take next steps? Do we feel well researched enough and well prepared enough?
I think the only outstanding question, or maybe the appropriate place for it, is in the FAQ sheet. But I think Jonathan brought it up in one of his comments, is potentially fielding the question of cost, and does this increase our cost? Is it going to be the same? You know, if there can be it doesn't necessarily need to be a statement made to council or in the email, but maybe in the FAQ sheet, something mentioning what that landscape looks like. I think that was the only thing potentially missing to me. Otherwise, it seemed fairly complete for me.
I saw your comment on that and I added that on the FAQ.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
So thank you for that. I just didn't.
So are we giving recommendations?
Yeah, our recommendation, oh, for food you mean, or for what?
For like how to implement it?
Not specifically, I think it just says by the plant-based by default meal, people can request. Otherwise, and then for bigger events, there's some suggestions like put the meat and dairy in the middle of the buffet line. There's like some like weird tactics to get even like, but for the more, I mean, I felt for these meetings, they're so small. That felt like a little overkill. I'm happy to answer questions, but I don't want to get too prescriptive.
Right, yeah, I think that probably the best way would just be like, put in. I think it's in the emails, but just like, if you have questions about how best
Yeah.
to do it, ask us questions. And yeah, that is in here, so,
And I could like email it to 5 boards, wait a little bit, see if we get a lot of questions or anything before you email them. But
Okay.
I don't suspect it will be too much.
okay, so, yeah.
Yeah, I can just offer a little staff perspective if it's helpful. So really appreciate the work of the board in putting together this invitation. I'll use that word too. Though I would say I wouldn't be concerned about the strength of your ask, because an invitation is like if you want to, if you don't, that's fine too. The ultimate aim, as I listen to the board talk, is that ultimately this will become more of a policy. And so this is a way to kind of pilot and work into some type of formal policy. And from a process standpoint, it would be helpful to get a sense from the board how you'd like to structure. Do you want to go to council first and say, hey, we are an advisory group to you. There is a change condition. The change condition is the city put out a consumption-based inventory last year. That inventory signaled to us that food is a really substantial and significant portion of our greenhouse gas emissions. Therefore, we need to walk the walk. And one of the ways we can do that as boards that represent a pretty significant amount of spend and resource in our meetings every single month is to shift to a plant-based diet by default. And so one of the ways you do that, and we talked about this last month too, is whether you want to take that to council first and say, we are requesting you, council, and what we'd like to do is reach out to the rest of your advisory boards and issue this challenge or invitation to join us in this kind of informal policy. And what we bring to that is we like to just connect with board liaisons, be a resource in terms of how do you do it, what are some of the pain points along the way. But ultimately, this is, my guess, my advice here is that the tone does matter.
Yeah.
So you want council to feel like you are giving them direction as an advisory board versus, hey, we're gonna go do this, don't worry about it. You'd want them to make some statement, which is really great idea. We really want to encourage all of our boards to do that. That gives you a little bit of support and momentum to go out to the rest of the boards and say, hey, we talked to council, we're issuing this challenge and we'd like to support you in that journey.
So it sounds like you're recommending do council first.
That would be my recommendation, but again, you all are certainly open to do it however you want to do it.
How does it work in a public comment? Like, can they respond? Or-
Yes,
And like
yes.
live?
So if the board and if that is the way you'd like to go, what we would do is pin down a date that you'd like to give this presentation. I would let the clerk's office know that we have a board representative or representatives attending during public comment. They would put you right up front in public comment. And yes, whether council chooses to respond immediately or wait until public comment is over to respond, they absolutely can respond and interact.
And then if they don't, but we have like a request, like, can we reach out to the other boards? We want your blessing. And they don't respond live, do we email that? Like, I guess I'm just, don't want it to get lost.
No, it's a great question. In my experience, what I have seen with these types of things is rather than a request or an ask, a statement, which is, we are going to be reaching out. And if you would like to not advise, but basically that's the invitation to them to say, no, don't do that,
Okay,
which I don't think they would.
got it. So it's more like, now's your chance.
Yes.
To stop us.
Our intention is to reach out to the rest of the
If
board.
you have any objections, you know,
Yeah.
please
Please let us know.
these, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, public comment can get very long, and
But if we can go first, so awesome.
Yeah, and it is capped at the number of participants, so it will be an hour. So worst case scenario would be that you go first and then you have to hang out an hour until there's an opportunity for council to dialogue with you.
but it's definitely starting with council being like that, hey, we're gonna be doing this, if you also want to add your voice, we welcome you to do so, is I think going to be super helpful. And yeah, I think that, you know, with some potentially, unless Alex disagrees, with some potentially like last minute edits to anything, I think we're pretty, I think, solid to move forward into going to council and going to other boards at this point. So if we want to take a vote on making this an official position of our
I think
board,
we did that last week.
did we? Great. So I have memory of a goldfish.
We all do. But I think that is something to share that is with council on the boards, that we made an official policy decision by proclamation, by vote, that is our official policy as board. And that is an opportunity for other boards to do it informally. You could also adopt something formal. We're happy to give you that language if you'd like to do that as well. So I think there are ways that is more like the board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, it's just some notes, like you guys just said, so I can update this.
So yeah, I think, do we want to nail down when we're going to council tonight? In this, as part of this conversation, or is that a?
Who wants to
later
go?
discussion?
I will.
You should definitely go as the helm behind this. I'm happy to be writing on that as well.
Oh, maybe it's not like.
And I believe like board representatives signing for public comment is a slightly different process than for public, so.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
um,
great, do we get a little? Do we still do it online or just?
I can verify
Okay,
the best way to do that.
cool. There's, okay, yeah, there's.
So right now it's just an invitation, but we're not offering any like specific details of how to implement it.
Well, we link in our email, I'll follow up with the council to examples of resolutions that other cities have passed, so the Denver, for example, passed something more formally, as well as Hollywood, West Hollywood, California. So I linked to those to say, here's some language they could pull. I didn't want to like tell them, I mean, I didn't want to say something like that, but it's like, here's some examples of it, or recommended that you do something formal so that when the council switches over, it sticks around. But there's nothing formal for it.
So if it's helpful, I can give you all the dates of the
Yeah.
regular meetings for you to think through. So this week, obviously tomorrow night, may feel a little quick to you, but it is an option. Probably a little quick for us just to make sure that the clerk's office knows that they should be coming. The next is, I believe, the 19th. Yeah. September 19th is another regular meeting. And then after that, there is a community and council forum coming up on the 26th. So that would not be an opportunity. The next meeting after the 19th would be October 3rd. So it sounds like you're probably working with September 19th or October.
I think the 19th.
I mean, I guess I hosted an event that night. I suppose I can skip it. I am the host.
Probably not.
It's that climate up here. But it was fun. But I could do the 3rd, which is still Rosh Hashanah. I don't know if they're changing their meetings or not. But this is my concern.
Okay.
So that would work.
Yes. So I think over the 3rd, I don't know exactly what the process is, but
We'll advise. And I'll.
thank you. Okay. Anything else on this, or are we?
One clarification question from me. So are we, Jonathan made what I thought was a nice suggestion of what the tone could take on. Are we going to kind of tweak, the 2-minute statement towards city council with that sort of bent on the tone rather than the one that we currently have drafted?
Yeah, I'm gonna tweak it. I probably won't like rewrite the whole thing, but
Okay, yeah,
I think both with your feedback of putting the consumption-based inventory higher up and kind of basing it on that, like, here's some new information and we saw that and here's what we think. And kind of get into some of the why and the facts. Does that sound?
And if we have more than just one person going, we do get more than 2 minutes.
Okay,
So your time constraint is not
great.
quite so limited.
So the action item, sorry to interrupt, the action item that we will take is under, check with the clerk's office, understand process, the sign up, the time available for the board to present, whether or not you go first, whether or not council will be able to interact with you immediately or wait till a public conversation and so forth. That'll be our action item. We'll let you know, and we'll try to get that to you quickly. That way you can tailor the presentation, knowing how much time you actually have.
Thank you so much.
Both of you are going?
I'm planning to be yes.
Do you want to talk as well, or just go your numbers?
I'm happy to do either, depending on what is priority.
Well, we can just speak slower and this will take one of the minutes. We can say the whole intergovernmental panel on climate change now that we have more time. I think we could slow it down easily, so.
Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
We can, I'm happy to talk and take part in that.
Okay.
Okay, and any other thoughts, comments, questions on this? Feeling good, feeling fulfilled? All right, with that, we can move on to our next item.
Oh, wait,
Oh.
once, since this will be before our next board meeting,
Yes.
after I speak at council, are you guys cool if I start sending emails to the boards, assuming council doesn't stop us.
Assuming
Good
such.
with that.
Okay, great. I'll see Sue then. So I'll see it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great, sorry. Hold on.
cool, we're good, great. Moving on to our next item, the Front Range Regional Sustainability Board update and next steps. Jonathan?
Yeah, I'd like to kick this one off, if that's okay, and then I will phone a friend to my left, and Hernan can jump in and share any of his thoughts. The last time we talked about this was a couple of months ago, and just as a refresher, really want to appreciate Hernan and his leadership in helping bring together this group of advisory boards from the Front Range. You might remember, just as background, we both participated in the first meeting that was hosted by the City of Westminster. I think there was a good participation by, I'm going to guess, maybe about 10 to 15 jurisdictions in that meeting. There was a second meeting hosted by the City of Broomfield, City County Broomfield. I did not attend that, Hernan did. And since that time, most of the effort has been living kind of in an email thread amongst the participants, those that have attended previous meetings. There was a really nice survey that was put together, and I think Hernan supported the design of that survey, really to identify what do we want to do together. Is it really around best practice sharing? Because in my experience, what I observed is in the first meeting is that I think people had different expectations and desires of how that body, that coalition could be used. Many are around just kind of sharing out, here's what we're working on, here's what you're working on. And I think that was one end of the spectrum. The other was, that's great, but won't it be more effective if we're kind of consolidating our power and doing work together, picking one or two things, three things where we can really have a collective impact. And so I think the survey was intended to kind of get at where the majority of folks that are participating or want to participate really are landing, like what are the types of things that you want to discuss. And so I put this on the agenda for you all because it feels to me, and I'd love to just get a little bit of intel too from here on. At one point, we agreed to host an upcoming meeting. It might be the next one. And so I think it would be helpful to maybe hear the board talk about how you'd like to be involved in this. This is something that the board would like to continue to be affiliated with. How much do we want to guide it? And then if we are indeed going to host the next meeting, I don't have a good sense of when that is scheduled. I don't think we have a date for it, but
That's something that we could discuss.
yeah. And so, yeah, thinking about the timing of that meeting and how we might want to take some of the survey results and really develop a bit of an agenda or structure for that meeting. And I don't know that it's necessary that we have to do all of that, but right now there is a little bit of chartering that's taking place, like who's actually in charge at the thing, who's setting agendas, who gets to decide the stuff, like are we making decisions on things. And the last comment that I will make is that it's going to be a little bit messy. And the reason for that is that you have boards that are different across jurisdictions. Some are appointed by council. Some of the boards that were showing up were just volunteer groups. And I think they're looking for opportunities to get a little bit of a lift from those other jurisdictions that are, a little more advanced and mature in this work. So I think all of the jurisdictions that I saw participating are coming at it from a little bit different perspective, and that's fine. That's not an issue. I just want to make sure that before we're making any commitments, because this is really a board-driven activity, that you all have an opportunity to think about it, talk about it, and help shape it. So, Hernan, I'd love to just kind of get any thoughts you have in your experience, because you've been, I think, a little closer to this tonight.
Yeah, so the last meeting we had was in May. It kind of came about really a little quick, a little abruptly. So I think like there was as much participation as in the first meeting, like a little boards couldn't attend. But it was kind of like the first meeting. It was a little bit like a lot of ideas, people who wanted to like, take a lot of action, people who wanted to take it slowly. So then I proposed, putting up a survey, so at least we can gather some data, find some common points, and use as an agenda, like, and then when people get out of the agenda, point to that, and say, this is what the group wanted. And this is like the composition of the different boards as well. And since then, we did the survey. That took a little longer than I expected, mainly because it was really hard to get that feedback loop between the boards. Like sometimes I would email city staff and they wouldn't forward our emails to the boards. So then I had to Google the actual members one by one. And sometimes the websites don't show the emails. So I had to do some stalking and find them and then email them. So it was a lot more difficult than I expected to get a lot of participation, a lot of boards, little hadn't heard of from us. Longmont didn't forward the emails to the board members. So anyway, after everybody, I got about 30 participants, which I thought was a good number. And the steering committee met and we kind of did a very rough analysis of the survey. And one of the members wanted to try this experimental tool called Polis, which is a way to aggregate data. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I started.
You did, okay. We still need to discuss those results. We haven't gotten a chance to do it. And there were some mixed feelings about it, I think, from the committee and what, how effective it was, at least from other members that I heard from. So we need to do that and, review those results. But basically, from the survey, which is kind of what I was pushing for and what I did the analysis on, is that, the boards have each board has a very different composition. Many boards have, for example, a council liaison. So a council member goes to the meetings regularly. Some boards, kind of like us, provide formal responses to council questions through memos. Kind of like us as well, some submit annual or semi-annual reports to council, which is kind of those, not reports, I guess, but those memos that we send for the council retreats. And just like us, unsolicited feedback, kind of when we say, can you present to us, and then by the time they get the memo, the feedback is already incorporated. So I think a common theme was that a few boards expressed a need for a more defined and regular feedback process. That's something that they would like to establish and got some help of how that could look. And I think we will be a good example of how feedback loop has improved, how we can show what we have done. Then another thing was define clear responsibilities for liaisons to facilitate effective two-way communication. Somebody suggested maybe doing joint sessions with council. And yeah, mandate, these memos of central council, mandate them to be maybe quarterly or biannual. So anyway, I think the boards in general are very different. And I think there could be a good opportunity there for knowledge sharing, what has worked for some, what hasn't worked for some. And I think, some of these suggestions, I think are things that I think could work. But in terms of what the boards were interested, in terms of priorities, a very common theme was actually water conservation. That came up a lot, alongside electrification and having a climate action plan. So a lot of boards either have a sustainability plan, which I don't think is the same, at least they didn't think it was the same, or just some very brief statement about climate initiatives. So a lot of boards were interested in doing some climate action, an actual climate action plan. Water conservation, electrification, and energy usage and efficiency, and carbon footprint. So with that, I think what the survey showed is I think the groups do want to share best practices, lessons learned, successful programs that different municipalities have had, exchange information, discussion initiatives and approaches, learn from communities with more resources. That was the big one. Communities with more resources should try to help the smaller ones, historical accomplishments. And some of them were and this, I don't know, because it overlaps with other groups, but collaborate on regional goals, advocate for state level legislation. and share resources to have a broader reach and bigger impact.
So as I'm hearing about this, I'm wondering if, and it's not something that's been explicitly stated, but I'm wondering if it would be beneficial to sort of turn this into some kind of like Dr. Cog style, like environmental, like regional environmental thing.
What does that mean?
Oh, Dr. Cog is the Denver Regional Council of Governments. It's a true, like across this state area, like transportation board that meets like once a month or something. That has representatives from all of the different cities. And
City
so
staff.
it's a lot of elected officials, I think. It's primarily elected or entirely elected? It's elected. And so having some kind of similar like cross-regional environmental board that
But that is kind of like the idea of the cross-regional environmental board. But I think the extent of the actions it performs, I think that's still like something we need to decide. Because the role of our board is advisory. And all these boards that are coming together are also advisory.
yes,
So I think by that, the role that a regional group will have will still be advisory. Which I think there's some power strength in numbers because now you have multiple municipalities saying they want something. But I think that based on the survey, the initial goal, which was networking and knowledge sharing, is still very valid and something the boards really want. Now, how does that look? I don't know, because that's like depending on staff, right? It's like you guys have a lot of knowledge. So like how could staff, for example, like what they say in bigger municipalities, have had historical programs and successes, how can they help other municipalities learn from them and share that knowledge? And that, I don't know, because that's your time as well, like from staff. Like if we organize a meeting, we can talk about some of the programs we have had in Boulder. I don't know if we can talk anything related to water conservation, but we can talk about our building updates for energy conservation. We can talk about, there was to a lesser extent, another priority was extreme heat, although it didn't come up as much. But we can talk about that to generate awareness. But in terms of like the networking, I think falls on the boards themselves to kind of share practices and knowledge and what we do here. But I think the knowledge sharing, I think, falls more on staff, and that part I'm not sure like how that would look like. But yeah, like I mean, I think the idea like what people want to do is like form this regional board so we can like share best practices, successes, failures, and network a little bit, and present perhaps common goals. Okay, Boulder is implementing this, Lewis was implementing this, and a smaller community can like send a letter to the council saying, hey, all these communities are doing it, so we allocate funds to.
Yeah. And then also, so Jonathan mentioned that it didn't really come up for David when David, you're talking about kind of a different question. So we are currently hosting the next one of these. So how is that going to look? Like, is that going to be a like something that we as the board are organizing? Is that something that you are organizing in collaboration with Jonathan? Like, what's the process looking like for that?
I think we'll let the board organize it, all of us together.
Yeah.
It'll make everything a little easier.
I definitely agree.
I'm a little wary of, I'm not saying I'm not for this, a bunch of volunteers that already are volunteering for one thing and kind of joining another thing. Like, do you feel like there'll be critical ongoing mass of, I guess just people, I work with a lot of volunteers and let's just say there's not a lot of follow through in my experience. And so I'm just wondering what your sense is of people's commitment.
I think the important thing is keeping momentum
Yeah.
and keeping people interested. I think this is a very novel thing. So I think the energy was pretty good in the first and second meetings. Like we were very excited about this. So depending on how we, what we can offer in these meetings in terms of like the networking and knowledge sharing,
Yeah.
I think we can keep that going.
Yeah.
But if we kind of lose that, then yeah, the momentum will get lost and people will be like, why am I doing this?
Right.
And But I mean, from the two meetings, I think that the enthusiasm is so high.
Okay.
And I think most of it is novelty.
Right.
But that's kind of hard too, because people get really excited. You know, like,
Right.
"Hey, these days, let's do like all these actions, and it's like, well, but our role is to advise with you, and we're not decision maker with me. You know, and how's it gonna look as well, you know, we through, you know, synchronized opinion letter, guest opinions,
Right.
for communities, letters to the editor, you know, the meetings where staff can present work. That part, like those action items we have decided. I mean, the survey was more to like see what the composition of these boards is, what are some common goals the group has,
Yeah.
and now I think they would like to present these results and then I'll talk about okay, how can we translate this into action items, and I'll make some recommendations. But that's something that we still need to kind of discuss a bit more. But in terms of like workshop, I mean, the thing that came out was like municipality getting some help obtaining grant funding for example. And I think we discussed that briefly a long time ago. But in terms of like a workshop where we share knowledge, and how could that look, for example? I guess staff would present, like you guys present to us, extreme heat. But I don't know if that will be a lot of use to other communities. Like that part is not clear to me.
Yeah, or comments?
Please.
Yeah, thanks. That was really helpful to read a lot through kind of the survey results, and I had seen a little bit of that. In some of the email exchange in the first meeting, a few observations from my perspective. One is, I already mentioned that the constellation is quite different, that you have some advisory boards that are volunteer and who they advise differs. Some are advising staff, some are advising policymakers. That creates an interesting dynamic, right? Because those that are advising staff were more program focused. They were thinking about what are the kind of programs that we could like start to bring forward to staff to try to get them to work on, versus those groups like yourselves. We are advising policy. We're advising our decision makers on policy that help establish kind of the landscape of what we can and can't do. Those two things are fairly different. And they get really sticky when you mix those things together, because some people are thinking policy and others are like, how do we develop some programming and some funds for those programs? Grants are a great example. Obviously, you're going after grants. Where are the pots of money to be able to implement programs? So the idea there is that an advisory group would talk to their staff and say, hey, did you know about this pot of money to do a certain thing? We'd love to support you in that. I mean, so that's one dynamic. So that whole kind of balancing of advising and who's being advised is, I think, an important one just to acknowledge. What was the other thing that I was going to mention? Bless you. The other thing is, it was pretty clear to me that there wasn't a good understanding of resources that are already out there. And so getting into this idea of creating a new Dr. Coggish kind of thing, well, I mean, we have Front Range Sustainability Network, which is STEP. We have ICLEI, we have USDN, there's CC4CA on the policy side. So there are a lot of organizations that exist to try to support this kind of work. So part of what I was trying to think about with the group I was sitting with is what is unique about the desire of this group that isn't being satisfied by one of the organizations that's currently out there? Is it best practice sharing? What does it look like where there's interest in water? Do we bring water experts and say it's more like a symposium style, so a literacy building where we say, what is the question that we're trying to ask and answer? What's the problem we're solving for? And we don't have to define it, whether it's a policy or a program, but we bring experts in to say, here's the situation. When it comes to water, boom, here are the tools and opportunities that exist at the local level, policy levers, program levers, give a presentation, everybody takes what they need from that presentation, and they can go back and figure out the best way to implement in their own jurisdiction. And you can apply that kind of thinking to electrification. What is it? Is it just like understanding what it is? Is it enabling policies? Is it thinking about financing of electrification? So thinking, and same way, extreme heat. What is the issue? Bringing in experts to talk about what is the issue? We know we have more extreme heat. We're not designing our land use policies and our buildings to address more extreme heat. It's incongruent with our landscape policies with respect to trees. So I'm just making crap up right now. So that's one kind of structure that I feel could work. And there might be some spin-off from that where you have some groups who are like, well, we're going to actually work on regional policy and they can kind of go do their thing. I just feel like it's one of those, you have to kind of take a few steps back to make sure you're not leaving anybody behind. Otherwise, you're going to have a few jurisdictions where they're like, people like, yeah, I just like volunteer for this board. I don't really know what to work on. This is new to me. Versus those who have real expertise. They're a climate scientist or whatever else, and they were appointed by a city council member. Big span of literacy there. And I just would hate to move something forward that leaves anybody behind because it's that group that we want to help kind of pull, I guess. That makes sense. So the other thing, and I thought this was maybe where you were going to reflect, there's also the reality that as boards, and I brought this up, and I don't think we really figured this out, that if we're hosting these kind of bigger confabs, they are in public meetings. And we need to notice those. And are we noticing those in every single jurisdiction? So members from each community show up. I think it was just kind of ignored the first two meetings, which didn't feel great to me. I think it was a bit of an oversight, and that's okay. We were okay because I think the two of us went, and then you were at the second one, so we were covered. But moving forward, if I did ask Westminster, did you publicly notice, because you have multiple board members here and you have a few council members here, I'm assuming this is a public meeting, like, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus publicly and reporting, but it was just something that I think hadn't been thought through.
Yeah.
And so for you all to be considering that, which is if you want to host something, not a big deal, we can publicly notice it, but there's just a couple more steps to say, what is it? How do you want to talk about these things? What role can the public play or not? They can observe but not participate, or do you want them to? So just some factors to consider in the design. But from the staff perspective, full support. We obviously can find a location to host. We can figure out how to best support you all in terms of getting invitations set out, whether it be food, all the stuff that goes into planning the meeting. Happy to support.
I'll say I'm personally not particularly excited or interested in this. I will show up and do stuff, but I'll just voice that, like, in terms of trade-offs of time and kind of things we could do with time. That's just, I get a little jaded sometimes. At the beginning of things, it's a little rough for me. It's the efficiency of group conversations sometimes, but I hope that other people do it that are excited.
I think that I guess the issue that we're running into is that this is a potentially very useful, very helpful, and potentially very powerful group that is in the process of being made.
Yeah.
The problem with those things is that until they are made and established, they are kind of just a bunch of people on a group chatting. And so maybe a goal with this, if we're hosting the next one and have some voice in that direction and are needing to notice it publicly as a meeting, and so therefore needing to give it some kind of outline, some kind of form.
Yeah.
Then we can have a hand and some control in the sort of long-term direction of what this is going to turn into. And so being able to have a voice in that and sort of set that precedent, I think could be sort of our most helpful contribution to this next meeting.
Yeah.
Of, set up like a guideline of we are hosting a group, this same group that it has been, and this is what we're looking to get from this meeting, and sort of explicitly state that as we're setting it up and doing that planning process. I don't know exactly what we would want that to be, but I think that that could be sort of the direction that we take with it is less just a like, we're continuing to host the same thing that's been happening, and more or adding a rough outline to it.
Yeah, I think setting up an agenda and outline is important.
And having a facilitator.
Yes.
Since this is like early stage, would part of, that agenda setting, would it at least for the first or the next few meetings, if you will, constitute kind of a final discussion of if things are on the right track, a reflection of if people feel satisfied with the direction, the contents, or what they're getting out of it? Like in the vein of what Jonathan said, trying not to leave people behind.
Would a listserv of people on the email list work? I'm just thinking of like efficient ways for people to share things without having to be in a meeting. Like if we had like a listserv of all the people, is
That breaks down.
Well, it was a big item that was discussed, at least in the first meeting, which is what's the right format if there are things that are happening that are just share outs?
Yeah.
Is there a host site? And I don't know where that landed. So there was a lot of discussion around who could actually host that, what would be the format? Is it a Google Doc? Is it something that like, hey, here's a grant opportunity. Hey, here's a program. Did you know that this hearing is going on at CDPHE and we need people to testify on this thing?
Right.
Just a place to kind of dump things, and those that have the time to kind of scroll and be like, oh, that thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's important to us and to me and to my board.
Right.
And I don't know where that landed. There's nothing wrong with that. If it's a place where there's dialoguing, that's when we kind of cross lines. But if it's a place to just kind of dump things and send things in one direction, that's okay.
Yeah, we haven't decided what to do on that, but I shared it now. Because I mean, like, again, like I said, with volunteers, because like somebody has to share their knowledge.
Right.
Yeah, be aggregated into something that other people can do.
Right.
And that could be a challenge. But yeah, I think what I would like to discuss is maybe some sort of agenda for the next meeting. So I can present, for example, for 30 minutes perhaps, I could talk about these results and more or less what the state of the boards are and what are some common things the boards want in terms of like what the priorities are and what they need help with, how they would like to achieve those goals. But what you said about like a symposium, I think it's kind of like also what I was saying. I think I use the word workshop, but sure. Symposium is like, I think, more accurate. The only thing is that concerns me about that is just losing the enthusiasm of people. Because hearing a symposium could be boring and people could not attend. Like, I think it's really valuable, and I think that's what the group should do. Just like, I need to think how like convert that into some action items, like, because I think like even if they come and learn information, do they have the feedback loop or the tools to share that with their staff or their decision makers to kind of make a difference? Like, how can we help them? Like, yeah, present all the information. I think that will be great, and I think that's really useful. Something we should definitely do. But then maybe offer suggestions of how to like take that back to their communities.
One way, Hernan, to think about that, and just offering this as a potential path forward, just because we know that the difference in the makeup of the people attending, there might be some elected officials, there are some staff, there are some volunteers. One way to maybe get around that is you do a deep dive on a particular topic. We have a list of 5 vote, whatever to say. What do we want to talk about? Is it water? What is it about water? The host then can invite, or we work together to identify who are the right voices to bring in, and maybe half of the meeting is a deep dive on the thing. And then we leave room for more of that dialogue, and it's like that sharing and going around and doing like, what's up for you? What are some of your biggest challenges? And with the idea of being like, in Westminster, here's one of our biggest challenges. And, oh, well, they are working on that over there. You guys can connect and kind of solution that. So it's more of like not come with your like greatest things, but change the tone a bit, which is like, where are the pain points? Where are we struggling to make progress? And the idea then is like trying to find solutions. I've spent decades, and sorry, this to your comment about being jaded, I spent literally decades sitting in these types of meetings where it's just like people sharing out. And we did a community garden on the corner of 19th and 7th Street. It's amazing, really cool. We had 7 volunteers. And then we, were working on getting recycling at our pool. I'm being dramatic just to be silly, but you get the idea. And we all go around and we share, and each person is already thinking about what they want to share out, and we all applaud and we go our separate ways. Well, we didn't really accomplish anything.
Right.
Rarely there might be like, oh, that's interesting. I might follow up with you because I was trying that thing. But to me, it's like, let's get into it and talk about where we're really challenged and let's work together to find some solutions. So maybe there could be some complementary of like deep dive on a subject and do more of that sharing out and consolidation, just an idea.
I think that will work because I think that's something that people really want. Like they want to learn what the communities are doing, what the experts think. Now people start with water conservation because it's the one that came up the most in terms of priorities for the boards and the communities. And yeah, they do a deep dive like another word, like what are people like actually doing about this
In that space.
in that space.
One
And,
theme.
and I think that was one of the goals, when Maria set up the group. I think that was one of the goals of this networking and knowledge sharing. And I think based on the survey, those are still pretty strong goals. So I think that would be a good idea for a project.
I think something like the survey you mentioned, or Laura, I think that could be some by email probably.
You think so?
I think so. I think you can kind of summarize it.
I can see that. I can see that.
I'm just kidding.
And then we can get into the meat of it.
I can see them hiding back here.
Plant-based meat. Another helpful tool is like do networking at the beginning, like just talking. Having like sheets of paper on the wall that have some of the questions, like what's your biggest pain point? And the people can like. write
Sorry,
some of
Alex.
it down. Trying to get that matching solution.
That's pretty good.
I worry in meetings like this that people will like talk for too long when they're like really influence of what we're working on. So just finding ways to help with a big group of people.
No, it can be hard to navigate, like,
Yeah.
especially like in the last meeting, it was just the one big table.
Right.
So that was a little harder to
That sounds like.
navigate. But we still form a steering committee, we still like
That's
came up
great.
with some unified action items, next steps. So
Yeah.
it's doable. I really like your idea of having like a symposium where we can get some information, especially about the resources that, like I said, are already available. I think that's something that board members are not very aware of. And it was reflected in the survey, they're like, hey, people are in the department working on this. People are like, I don't know. Most of the questions, what was the answer for that? I don't know.
I couldn't answer any of those. Barely any of those questions.
Yeah.
So that I was like, oh.
But that's good, right? Like I think like something that
They were
some of them. So yeah, I like that agenda. I think maybe should we just kind of continue the discussion offline to see kind of like how that will look exactly and
I think also the shared Google Doc draft agenda where people can decide comments. Like if you're making an agenda for the event, share it with us in Google Docs.
Oh,
and we can-
All right. Do you wish to continue our discussion on this topic or are you feeling satisfied, fulfilled?
I think we're good for now. We can follow up offline with like more of an issue.
Great.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for bringing that both of you.
Yeah, and thanks for going to those.
Yeah. I'm excited about this in concept and I hope that it's in practice can pan out as well as the concept looks to be. And so then before we jump into our next item, the council calendar preview, me and Jonathan had a brief discussion about this, about the best way for us to use the council calendar preview to try to make the meetings as us board members directed as possible. And so calling out any items that Jonathan is telling us about as something that we want to talk about, that we want to bring feedback on, that either fall in your role of expertise or you think is something that is particularly environmentally related, and just being able to lend our voice to that. And so I know that I often fall into the trap of everything is environmentally related. I don't want to call forward everything. And so I call forward nothing. So just, making sure that we point things out so that other departments are like, yes, actually, we should talk to the Environmental Advisory Board about this. And so that not everything has to be us directed for forever, but adding some us direction at the moment. So with that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's a bit of mea culpa that kind of got me thinking this, because I feel like the last two meetings we've been pretty light, and I think at least my commitment to the board was we were going to really try to get in the cadence of making sure that items that were really important in terms of policy and advice that you could give to departments and projects and city councils is really important to me. So again, a little mea culpa that I feel like we kind of slipped away from that, and I just wanted to just think with you all the best way to kind of manage that dynamic. And so my recommendation is, I think when I go through the council agenda items, one of the things that I have realized pretty quickly is that I start with items that are coming up like relatively soon. And then I'm realizing that, wow, it's a little bit late to be thinking about trying to get someone scheduled to come to the board. And it's not that they can't come and speak to you, but I'm worried that it's too late in the process where your voice is not going to help shape the thing, because we're now like already prepared to go to council. So what I'd like to recommend is, rather than just looking at, I think it's useful for you all to be looking at the council calendar and seeing things that are upcoming. And when we're in this space in meetings, for you to be able to say, hey, tell me a little bit more about this thing. What do you know about it? And I really believe we should have an opportunity to weigh in on this one. I feel like I'm trying to signal to you the things that I think would be good, but there still seems to be a little bit of mismatch, at least in terms of like, I just want you to help. I want you all to control your agenda, I guess is the point, and not feel like I'm building it on your behalf. One of the ways to do that is, rather than looking at the upcoming meetings, on the back page, you have the anticipated upcoming council items. That feels like the right space to be able to look at those items and say, while they've not been calendared yet, now is the time for me to reach out and say, hey, we need to talk about ADUs. Like to get an update on that. That way it gives me an opportunity to reach out to our friends in planning to say, hey, I know you don't have this scheduled yet, but the board would like to see this on their agenda before you take this to council.
Yeah.
So looking at that list, I could see a number of things that would be very interesting to the board besides the ADUs, the family-friendly vibrant neighborhoods, input on policy statement on regional, state, and federal issues. So that's where we talk about our policy statement that guides our discussion, both at regulatory agencies and the General Assembly. So having Carl Castillo talk to the board about, and climate and sustainability is a huge component of that policy agenda. We work with him on updating that on an annual basis.
And to just jump in on that one briefly, yes, we had Carl Castillo come in
Correct.
a little bit ago, and that was more of a like, this is what we had been doing, and this is the process. But to actually being able to get in on that, like set up meeting, like in that, and just have them to talk to us about the environmental policies that we're going to look at supporting, I think it's going to be, it would be great.
The landscaping updates, wildfire hardening. This is, I think, a really important one where we start to align how we think about our landscaping ordinance with respect to water, with respect to wildfire, with respect to shade and cooling opportunities. A big item to be opening and up and talking about. So that one I would really signal as an important one. We've already talked about the climate action plan update. I gave a short update at your last meeting on what that is entailing and when that's going to be coming forward. The East Boulder Sub-Community Plan, form-based code updates, another one that could be really interesting for you all to weigh in on. So I guess what I'm suggesting here is that I would like to, I guess, recommend that when we are in this kind of dialogue and space on your agenda, for you all to give me some feedback on the types of things that you'd like for me to go get scheduled for you.
Jonathan, can I ask you to succinctly describe what the family-friendly, vibrant neighborhoods entails in the scope of what they're looking at?
I can't at this moment, but I certainly can send you some of the details that at least I have, and I don't want to not do it justice by trying to limp my way through it. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I'm happy to send that to you. But if you want to put a little asterisk next to that one, dependent on the scope, let's do that.
Yeah, I think that is, it's, a general enough description that I can't tell if that would be something of interest to us or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that my guess would be that it definitely is something that we're gonna be interested in. If it's anything like I would guess, if it falls, it sounds like it's gonna fall pretty in line with walkable neighborhoods and like co-housing kind of neighborhoods. The community that I have grown up in is a co-housing neighborhood, so it's a very like community oriented, like. Neat. And so I would guess that this is gonna fall in that same realm. And so that's definitely like making sure that transportation is available and that like you can get to your coffee shop and your grocery store on foot if you want to, right? And so I think that that falls in the same sort of space. So I think we're definitely gonna wanna look at that, again, depending on explicit overview of what it is going to be.
So I can, I just pulled it up. It's on Beaver Boulder right now. So the project is really going to be focused on exploring code changes that would add housing options by reducing zoning barriers and allow a wide array of housing types. So the goal for the Family-Friendly Vibrant Neighborhoods project is to focus on inclusion and help increase housing affordability, enabling more people to stay or move to Boulder. And so it's being led out of our planning department.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I think we definitely like to hear about that.
Alex, was that helpful?
Yes, thank you. I just couldn't tell from the title quite what they were going to be focusing on. So yeah.
Either I kind of forgot, so.
Yeah, and I definitely like to reiterate, I'd love to have Carl come in and talk to us about upcoming environmental policy. And so that we can have a voice in the direction that we're going with that.
Landscaping.
Yes, landscaping is a good one. We've had.
I also wonder when, I mean, at some point, the area clearing, I'd like to hear about, I don't know when in that process. I don't know what consideration of outdoors. This seems relevant too.
And the East Boulder Sub-Community Plan and form-based code updates. I don't know how much of that falls under our sort of review wheelhouse, but that could potentially be interesting. I mean, you mentioned as you were looking through the list. I don't know how much that would overlap with us, but depending on how much that is, it would probably be good to talk about.
So are we requesting feedback or
We're requesting to have it put on our agenda.
on the agenda of the family-friendly neighborhoods?
Yeah.
What we can look around based on the description. Seems like the research you kind of like increase affordability. So what suggestions would be based on code updates or what? Like.
Well, what I would say is that it's looking at a package of codes to understand how we can really understand affordable housing in a different way. So there's how that connects to our energy code and to our building codes, I think is a really important issue. I don't know what those code updates might entail. whether it's just land use, I'm not quite sure, and how that might link also to the Boulder Valley Comp Plan.
Yeah, it could be a number. Okay.
But I mean, there's definitely like, there's a number of jobs in the city of Boulder that are not jobs that pay a wage that allows you to live in the city of Boulder without affordable housing. And so increasing affordable housing is increasing the ability for people who work, jobs like I work, to continue to live in the city of Boulder and not have to drive. Remember my coworkers driving from, like Firestone every day. Some of them are from Broomfield. And so there's a lot, like, low cost housing has a huge overlap with environmental in transportation. Yeah,
I did just send a link to
Yes.
that project page,
thank you.
so you can explore that. There's actually a story for it.
And then are we gonna did we say the Boulder Valley Comp Plan? I don't see that on here, but
It will
okay.
come to you. That's not been scheduled, but we're still working on the dynamic of the internal engagement with departments, and then it'll be a year long.
Okay.
Yeah.
The comp plan is still in the future, and then if any other major changes happen around the climate action plan.
Yeah.
Then I assume that is on the list for us already, so.
I didn't even know we could request things.
That was part of why I think it was so helpful to
Yeah.
status was that it's that is part of our purview. Anything else that we wanna talk about, looking at the upcoming council items, or yes, anything else that someone wants to bring forward?
I just want to circle back to the regional group. What date should we aim for? Because that will be good to set. As I said, in one day, I'll try to target something in October, in November. What do you
I
expect?
wanna make sure that we have enough time to plan it and organize.
So maybe like first week of November.
I think that November is the earliest that I think we should say this is what we're aiming for.
Yeah, November should be good. We have a lot of them on October.
I don't know if there was a commitment in terms of the cadence of the meetings. The first two were pretty close together, so.
I got an email from the Westminster board, and they were proposing, they haven't like put it in stone yet, but the second week of November.
Okay.
But there's no, it will be kind of like the first meeting. So I think if we can do it and kind of like get the wheel going with like an actual symposium, like a networking event, I think that would be more effective. for those who can. Great. So I'll suggest the first or second week of November. We can set it in stone later, but yeah, November would be cool.
You definitely want to strike the line there between not like delaying too long so that momentum is lost, but also not overcommitting to doing something super soon and then completely dropping the ball.
And
So-
yeah, those. And the topic will be water conservation. Yeah.
After the election.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
Me too.
After the election is you don't want to like be doing that. Also like, oh God, Jesus, what is the next week gonna bring?
Yeah.
Are we going to be living in a dictatorship?
Or before, I mean, 50-50 chance, like what is the price?
It could be.
I mean, before people still have hope.
True.
It's like,
Afterwards, it will be resolved, so we will no longer have hope and be broken or be very excited.
okay, let's do it after the election.
Okay. Any other?
I'm not gonna be at the next meeting, just, or mostly for food order.
Thank you for letting us know.
It's two brief updates. I can make them very short. One, if you saw the press release, went out yesterday, we're launching the next round of our Like Incentive Program. Very excited. The major change this year is that it will be 100% income qualified. Last year, it was a bit of a mix, but we saw that we really tried to tailor it towards income qualified vouchers. We got a really, really great response in that sector, so we just decided to take all of the money that we have available this year, which is $300,000 from our climate action tax. Increase the amount per voucher for cargo bikes, especially, so people can actually take their kids to school and go grocery shopping and all of the stuff. So that voucher and the lottery will open up on the 16th. So the press release went out, it's on our website. Happy to send that out so you have that available, and love for you all to just let people know. Excited to get more bikes out there. And the second, I cannot remember if it was before or after our last meeting where we announced our Dr. Cog grant award. Does that sound vaguely? Okay. So you mentioned Dr. Cog earlier, Denver Regional Council of Governments. This is our EPA Climate Pollution Reduction Act, or CPRG grant program. We helped design a grant application for regional electrification, job training, a lot of consultant work, a lot of like direct payments for low income electrification. And we were awarded. It's huge. It's a $200 million grant.
We've been working on that for a while.
We've been working on that for about a year. You might have remembered Carolyn Elam from my team talking a little bit about that. So we've been working on that design. It's incredibly exciting to get that award. And the reason I mentioned Dr. Cog is they are our fiscal agent. They are the entity that's administering the grant and kind of organizing, but Boulder County and Denver are the three jurisdictions that are really driving a lot. We designed the program, designed the grant application, and are working with Dr. Cog directly to design the program now. So we have a lot of information about what it includes, what it'll look like, and we're really trying to get those dollars earmarked before November.
Also, congratulations.
Congrats, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, very big deal. And it was mentioned at that regional meeting too, because we have a few of the jurisdictions that are playing a support role. We're building a broad coalition around the Front Range for the electrification. So just the two announcements tonight.
Great,
Thanks.
okay. Anything else to bring for the board? Feeling satisfied?
Good.
Yeah, great. All right. With that, I will make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. All right, quick vote by raise of hand. All in favor? That appears to pass. Great, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya.